Module 2, Section 1, Installing and configuring a Cosmos-SDK chain. The prerequisites needed for running the chain that we are going to build are having an operating system like Linux, Mac OS, or Windows. I will be using Ubuntu, that's a Linux distribution. You will need an integrated development environment. I will be using VS Code, but you can use the one of your choice. You will need at least 8 GB of RAM to run all the setup smoothly. Golang version 1.21 or higher is required. You will also need Docker. I have version 26.1.1, but any previous version should work as well. We will be using TypeScript later on in the course, and obviously you will need some programming experience. Let's set up these dependencies. As you can see, I already have here Go installed. I have version 1.22.2. Make sure that you have at least Go 1.22 installed. Also, I have Docker, the version I mentioned previously. And now pause the video if you need and make sure to have these dependencies installed. Next, we're going to clone this repo where we will have our starting Cosmos SDK chain with the minimal configuration needed, and we will build from this starting point. You can scan this QR code to get to the GitHub repo, or you can type this repository that it is this one, and then please clone this. And actually, well, this repository, it's a copy of this minimal Cosmos SDK chain repo, but I made some small changes for us to work as we wanted. We'll go through this later on. So to do this, let's clone the repo. Just with the corresponding command git clone github and the corresponding username will be RPS, that stands for rock, papers, and scissors chain. And then we can get into the IDE in the RPS chain that we just cloned. So as you can see, we have here the app file. That's the main file where we define our application. We will go deeper in the next module about what all this is about. But for now, let's make sure that we can compile the corresponding binary that would be installing our binary. To do this, we can run inside the repo the make install command. This will build a binary called RPSD, that's for rock, papers, and scissors daemon, and this should be installed in our corresponding path where the Go binaries are installed, that are in Go bin. We can see we have this RPSD, but in order to run it from our path, you see I will not be able to run it here, so we will have to add this to our path. So in my case, I'm using bash. I'll have to edit the bash rc file to add this to my path. Usually when you start Go, you will have to add this to your path and make sure to add the home Go bin so we can run the binaries that we install using Go. Let's pick up the latest changes with source bash rc. Now we should be able to check. You see, we are having this binary working. The next step, we can start the chain with this minimal configuration that we have in scripts. We will understand later on what are all these commands about. But for now, let's just run the make init inside the RPS chain repo. And this will generate a genesis for our chain. And then we can start our chain. And as you can see, these are just logs of the process that just started. In our case, it's a one node chain. The one node is the validator, so it can generate blocks without having to reach consensus. It would be just one validator. We have 100% voting power and can generate blocks. This is very helpful usually for development and testing, but obviously in the real time you will have many validator nodes having to reach consensus to produce blocks. Make sure you can start the binary so we can keep working on top of this. And that's it for the first section.